Hey, Dan here, and in this video we are going to discuss if accountants should use an agreement with their new clients, yes or no. I get this question asked quite a lot because I work with a bunch of accountants to get them more clients. And it's a great question because first of all, there are of course a couple of legal reasons, but there are also a couple of reasons why you should want to use an agreement simply because of the sales side of things. Okay, so I created a couple of points that I want to discuss, which I know for sure will provide a lot of value to you. So before we dive in, I will quickly introduce myself so you know that you can actually trust the advice I'm going to give to you. My name is Dan and I'm the owner of Accounting Kings, where we work with accountants to help them get more clients. We spend about $50,000 on ads every month for accountants to help them get more clients. And I create these videos simply to share my knowledge and to hope I can provide some value to some of you. So let's dive right in. So first, we will just start with the pros. Three major bullet points. And the first one is better client retention because no surprises. Of course, in the ideal world where you just agree with a business owner, hey, we want to do business together, these are the prices and these are the things I'm going to do, there will never be an issue with that, right? And most of the times that is the case. But sometimes you discuss something with someone and you just had a miscommunication. So the agreement is very important so that all the agreements are simply just there on paper, not because you want to screw someone over, but also simply because there are the right expectations. So what we see a lot happening right now is that with the ads, if we put no hidden fees in the ad itself, that there are actually more people clicking on the ads. So the click-through rate from 100 people that see the ads versus the amount of people that click on it is actually going to increase oftentimes. And this is simply because people have bad experiences with accountants. A lot of the accountants, especially like a few years ago, typical old school accountants, they always work per hour. And then you work with an accountant, they will do some services for you that you agreed on. And sometimes the fee of that month is way higher than expected, simply because the accountant needed to work more on the services, right? And not all the business owners like and understand this. So if you simply have better expectations by having a very clear agreement, your client retention will actually also increase because your clients will know exactly what to expect, and it's also easier for their billings. So yeah, we have seen that no hidden fees in the ads can sometimes improve the click-through rate, meaning that a lot of people looking for accountants just want to have a very clear picture of what their costs are. And an agreement can of course help with this because it will just very clear black and white explain what the costs will be. So for client retention, it's a good thing. Then also better planning because clear services. So some of my clients, they actually told me that when they attracted a client and they say, we are going to do your books and your tax planning, for example, and sometimes the actual business owners think that the accountant will do some other extra services, right? So this is again also for better client retention expectations, but it's also better for you because if you know exactly, okay, well, this is what my client is expecting from me, then you can go to your team members or you can create a better planning for yourself and already know exactly, okay, well, my client told me that he has 1,000 invoices per month, for example, that he needs to do these services. He wants to get a profit loss statement, for example, every quarter. So since you agreed on very specific services that you are going to provide, it's very easy for you to actually make a planning and to plan things for yourself if you don't have employees, or if you have employees, that they also know exactly what they can expect. So it's better for your planning. It will make your operations easier so that you don't all of a sudden have to work the 80-hour work weeks because a client is expecting something else from you. And of course, you want to make them happy. So it's better for them. They know what to expect, but also better for you. You also know what to expect, right? And then another big thing is officially close the deal. And this is the major thing that I found is the biggest needle mover actually. And the reason for this is because this is especially if you are getting clients from cold outreach or from advertising. A lot of the times, if you talk with someone and they say, you know what, I'm really interested, I think I want to do this. And then what happened to some of my clients before they were using agreements is that they were going to set everything up. They were going to set up the QuickBooks, for example, or they shared the link to their portal so that everybody can upload their files. just to be ghosted, or just so that the lead can say, oh, you know what, I'm actually not interested anymore. So it's so important that if you talk with a potential client that is not a referral, typically with referrals it's a little easier, but if it's not a referral, then sometimes it happens that someone says, hey, I'm actually interested, send me all the details to get on board, and then they change their mind. You actually sign with them on the call, you know for sure that you're going to close the deal, because people are never going to sign an agreement if they are not 100% sure that they want to work with you. So by actually implementing an agreement, you actually have a tool that you can use to know for sure that the potential clients that you are talking to really want to move forward with you. And this is a quick tip. You want to sign with them on the Zoom call, on the phone call, or during the meeting itself. It has a couple of benefits, because the last thing you want to happen is that you are talking with a potential client. They say, yes, I want to get on board. You share the agreement with you, and then they take a month to actually read the agreement and sign it, right? This is just slowing down the sales process. You get paid later, and it's just leaving money on the table. So you really want to sign with them, just because so that they know and have time to actually read through it, and that it's a priority for them. But also because if they have some questions, that it's not like a ping pong match over with emails where they send you an email, you send one back, and then they have another question. And then all of a sudden you have a thread of like 50 emails about the agreement. Well, you can also just read over it with your potential client in the meeting, answer all the questions that they have, and then officially close the deal. And then another thing, if someone says, yes, I want to actually move forward, and then you say, okay, well, perfect, you want to move forward, let's go over the agreement. And then maybe they still have some doubts about a few things. So it's also easier to actually handle objections. So again, this is really important if you are getting leads from marketing efforts outside of referrals. Referrals are just way easier to close. But if you get a lead from marketing and they say yes, and then they don't want to actually sign the agreement, maybe they still have some doubts about your services and they want to think about a few things. And by implementing an agreement, you can just handle those objections directly, ask what their doubts are about, so that you can get them on board faster. And this makes it a bit clearer for them, because you actually offer them the opportunity to just share with you what the things are that actually they maybe want to see in the agreement, or what they are unsure about. And this gives an opportunity to you to actually speed up the sales cycle, and also make sure that you don't have those people that say, yes, I want to get on board, and then you don't hear anything from them. Because this is a common thing that happens if you actually use marketing or outreach with social media, that a lead says, hey, I'm very interested, that the accountant thinks, perfect, they want to get on board, because that's typically what happens with a referral. And then just the contact kind of dries out, and the lead cools down, and you never really hear something from them. So that's a really big thing why I think every accountant should use an agreement, just because of the sales process. It's easier to handle objections, the sales process goes faster, the potential or then current client knows exactly what to expect, so they are actually happier with your services, and you can also plan a bit better. And then, of course, if you want to change something, then you can also discuss this. So those are all the pros, but there is also a con. And I don't think this is a big con, to be honest. The con is it takes time to create and read. So it takes time to actually create the agreement, right? You want to make sure that the agreement is actually on point, that everything is approved legally, and that everything makes sense. I typically think that if you just take a template, there are a lot of templates online. Create those templates. Maybe you know a lawyer, or maybe you know another accountant. Ask for their agreement. Kind of change things around in your words and in your services. I don't think that creating the agreement has to take more than a few hours, to be honest. You don't want to get stuck at this too long, because if you do, it's kind of just productive procrastination, if you know what I mean. That you think you are very productive, but actually you are skipping the hard work, which for most accountants is actually getting the clients. And a big tip is, with reading, I mean actually that you need to read over the agreement with the potential client, right? Sometimes if you have a meeting and you scheduled an hour, and maybe they had some more questions than you expected, and then all of a sudden it's time, and then you still need to read over the agreement. That's a little downside. But you can actually fix this by having templates. So this also works really well if you just have different plans as services. So a cheaper plan for, let's say, 500 per month, then a middle plan for 1,500, and then the largest plan for 2,500 or 3,000. I'm just saying something. But if you have different plans of services, you can just have 3 agreements so that you don't have to create a new agreement every single time that you actually have a prospect in front of you. Or you can just have an agreement. I use DocuSign. You can also use PandaDoc, where you can have different templates, and then you just, with creating the agreement online, takes literally a couple of minutes. You can just change the services, exactly what you will do for the potential client, and then of course the fees. So this doesn't really take a lot of time. What you want to do is you just want to have a couple of templates with the services or the packages. And if you don't have specific packages, just have a template where you can fill in the services and the rates so that you can go over this with the potential clients, directly bring them on. So it's not just better from an expectation standpoint, just for your operations, but also from what the client is expecting you to do. But it's also just way better to actually close the deal, because you need to realize, and I'm repeating this on the channel, leads from marketing services and leads from social media or cold outreach always take more effort to convert, because they do not know, like, and trust you yet. With a referral, typically most of the selling is already done by the person that actually referred you. So I really hoped that this kind of made sense. Just spend some time with looking at a couple of agreements. You can maybe also nowadays get some from AI, from ChatGPT, for example. Ask with the other accounts that already paid a lawyer if this is actually similar to theirs, or you can just go to a lawyer, maybe you know someone. They can have a quick read over it. My agreements, for example, are only 3 pages, and this is not any legal advice, by the way, but my agreements are only 3 pages with the fees, the things that we are going to do for those people, and that's it. It doesn't have to be very, very big or like 20 different pages. So yeah, a lot of the accountants I talked to, they were asking this question to me, so I really hope that this provided some value. Also, if you are an accountant, there are 2 links in the description. First link, you can click on it if you are curious how I can help you get more better clients. The second link, you can click on it if you want to join a free Facebook community with other accountants that want to grow their firm. Now, if you have specific questions, by the way, you can just leave them in the comments and I will make a separate video about those questions, or I will directly answer it for you. If you like the video and the content, just leave a like so that the algorithm will serve you more, so that I get a good indication that you actually like the content that I'm going to produce, and that you get some value from it. And of course, subscribe to not miss any other videos. So again, thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.